Serious. Real estate agents of Reddit, what is the creepiest, strangest, or most unnerving experience you had with a property or a client? Part 2. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Last year I viewed a house that left me a bit unnerved. It was in an okay area, and the other houses on the street were valued at $25,000 to $50,000 more than this one was going for. I turned up and met the estate agent outside. She gave me the info packet and told me to take as much time as I wanted looking around. She wasn't coming in with me, which was odd, but fine, I guess. I had my daughter with me. She was about 1.5, and she was in her sling. The estate agent asked if I wanted to hand her over while I looked around. I said no, it was fine, but she seemed uncomfortable and said if my daughter got fussy, she'd take her. Odd, but okay, I thought. When I entered the house, the first thing that I noticed was the smell. Worse in some areas, but it was at least breathable. I've been to smellier houses. Downstairs was fine, but very dated, like it was last decorated in the 70s. The kitchen was large, everything seemed okay, but would need a lot of work. Upstairs was a completely different story. The first room I looked in was the bathroom, which looked like it hadn't been used in years. The next room had boxes piled up against the door, so I moved to the next room, which was a child's room with Star Wars wallpaper peeling off the walls and 70s era toys still on the shelves. The last room was the master bedroom, big but full of personal effect like jewelry boxes. I peeked inside one, and it was full of necklaces and brooches, good ones too. Anyone viewing the house could have helped themselves. When I turned to leave the room, the door was shut. Creepy, yes, but on the back of the door hung an exquisite wedding dress, an antique maybe from the 40s or 50s. Again, something someone could steal. As I was just about to go down the stairs, I thought it was stupid that I couldn't get into the other room, so with my daughter strapped to me, I got down on my knees and pushed and lifted the boxes enough to open the door. It was such a horrible room, dark, full of old physio equipment and very sterile. I shut the door and left. Once I'd reached the bottom of the stairs, I heard sliding and banging from upstairs. I walked back up a little and saw the boxes had fallen back across the path I'd made into the blocked off room. I left the house sharpish. Outside, I spoke to the estate agent about property details and stuff, then mentioned the expensive personal effects on display. She agreed that they needed collecting by the son of the man whose house it was, but he wouldn't go into the house. He wanted a quick sale and had even put a new roof in to sweeten the deal. I then asked why he hadn't shown me around, and she quickly said she won't enter that house, and if I'd like to raise it with her manager, I was welcome, but a herd of wild horses couldn't compel her to go inside. I said I wasn't complaining, and said I was probably not going to put an offer in on the grounds that it would be a huge job to fix it up. She said I'd make the right decision. The whole time I was in that house, I just wanted to leave, and my daughter had her face buried into me like she does when she doesn't want to interact with someone around. It was a creepy place, and a sad one too. I wonder what kind of home it used to be. I was looking at an apartment in San Diego with a real estate agent. One of the units we looked at had a pungent odor of cat urine. It was owned by an older woman who had some fully grown children that moved out. The realtor showed me the master bedroom, and then it happened. I came face to face with the largest, blackest dildo I've ever seen in my life. It wasn't hidden in some drawer. It was prominently displayed on top of the dresser. Funniest I've seen was renters who were poised that grandma they were renting from was selling decided to make the house as unsellable as they could. Dog do on floors, garbage everywhere, and a big sign with a woman holding up her middle finger with the words F housework. By the way, you never forget the smell of a foreclosed home. It's mold, urine, cat's pee, and garbage. Not a new one. She may need psychological help, but once she's an adult, she's not her parents' problem anymore. If I had a kid act crazy and get strung out on drugs, I'd send them packing and get a restraining order filed against her. I don't think that's relevant to this story. My grandpa owned some condos that my dad and uncles would fix up between residents, so as weird and extreme as that sounds, I understand 100%. One of his first condos he bought cheap, probably due to the sheer amount of work it took to make it livable and rentable again. It had been a total flophouse, complete with an eroded bathtub, a bedroom spray-painted matte black, and a bathroom door that had been splintered into oblivion by some kind of trauma, Think Shelley Duvall on the inside screaming kind of bathroom door. As a kid helping out, I took most of this in stride because I didn't understand drugs. I was more fascinated by the beer can that had been pressed in its entirety through the drywall, and the closed pantry door still impaled by a broom handle, which had been driven through the door with so much force that it had left a hole in the pantry's back wall. Drug-addicted tenants are a trip. When I was younger, I would tag along with my dad, who did appraisals on houses. Those vacant houses we'd look at down in the ghetto part of town were always creepy. On almost all of them, the copper wiring were stripped and the windows boarded up. A few of them were missing a front door, had junk and trash scattered everywhere, and smelly liquids pooled on the floor. Lots of empty lots where condemned houses had been torn down. Used to go take things from condemned buildings before the city plowed them as a kid. Get some records, few antiques. It was all going to be trash, so no one cared. My dad would take some fixings like doorknobs, etc. to save them. We went into this one house and it reeked. My dad goes to open one of the doors and can't. Gives it a hard shove and the smell hit me in the face like a baseball bat, and I could see light coming from the ceiling. Inside were dozens of dead animals, maybe 100 if you count rodents. The roof had a hole, but other than that, the room was completely sealed off. This resulted in raccoons, possums, cats, etc. coming in through the roof hole and getting trapped. Those animals died and others came to eat them, and so on. It was disgusting, and we left. I vomited on the steps. Another time, we actually got permission to enter a condemned building to remove the antique windows and doors. I fell through the porch floor to my hips, but curled my knees up to wedge me in, resulting in my legs dangling in the basement. My dad picked me up, then shined his light down to reveal I would have landed in just under 6 feet of putrid water. Ugh. My brother's room growing up was kind of graffiti. It was a real party house before my parents bought it, like one step above a crack house. At their housewarming party, they had a couple of biker gangs show up and hang out for a few hours before they realized it had new owners. Anyway, they had spray painted all over the walls in that room. Heights, phone numbers, all kinds of shit. So my mother painted over it, but didn't prime it right, and it started coming through the surface paint eventually. Looked crazy as F to see the name Mike slowly fade through the barnyard landscape she painted on the wall.